Folks, yesterday was the 113th day of protesting in the city of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And I've got an elephant on screen. And so we did a demonstration. It was a little bit shorter because a lot of the folks that showed up were a little tired, and it was hot as an MF out there. And so we did a little bit of a shorter demonstration yesterday, but it was still a good demonstration nonetheless. And so we walked through half of downtown Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and we demanded justice for Andrew Brown Jr., someone who was murdered on April 21st, 2021 by the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Department. We have been out here protesting every single day without a single exception for 113 days straight in a row. I have attended every day of protests except for day 72, where I had another protest-related activity I needed to handle. But either way, I've been out there every single day. I can tell you that Elizabeth City is something special. This is a very, very, very special moment in history for, again, a small town of approximately 20,000 people. We have had, usually on average, about 10 people a day. Some days are a little bit closer to 5, but most of the time we've got around 10 people total. Some people drive along in cars and honk their horns with us and block some roads so that angry drivers don't try to hurt us, which has happened several times. We had an incident last week where the chief of police, Eddie Buffalo, witnessed a car hit a protester and speed off. A hit and run was witnessed by the chief of police, and he did nothing and then told us not to file a report. So that's a little bit disgusting. The police in Elizabeth City decided to abandon protesters. They have been retaliating against protesters. The Pasquotank County Sheriff's Department has been definitely retaliating against protesters, myself included. And so all of this over 113 days of non-violent, peaceful march demonstrations, right? Elizabeth City has showcased that you can protest for over 100 days in a row, and you can do it without breaking a window. You can do it without burning a police station down. Now, that being said, what have we accomplished? We have gotten the Sheriff's Department a raise. They got more money for killing Andrew Brown Jr. They got more money. The police, the local Elizabeth City police, have let cars slam into protesters. And they have also attacked protesters on numerous occasions. And they got extremely well-paid overtime. And the mayor of Elizabeth City declared a state of emergency that allowed for several thousand out-of-city cops to come in, get free paid overtime, and also abuse protesters. The mayor of Elizabeth City has also been trying to do some good PR after the fact, after she endangered her entire population, and all of the people that live in Elizabeth City were put into danger by outside agitating riot police. The mayor of Elizabeth City has been trying to go on a rehabilitation tour. Some people do not accept it. Some people do. I have my own opinions on that. And but either way, we've been out here for 113 days in a row, and we're not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. The people that you can see right now on screen are not going to stop. And we are going to be out here every day until the case is closed. There is currently a pending lawsuit against the sheriff deputies, Robert Morgan, Daniel Meads, Aaron Llewellyn, Michael Swindle, Kenneth Bishop, Joel Lunsford, and there's another one. It's a Stephen Judd. That is, I think, $30 million of a pending lawsuit against them over the murder of Andrew Brown Jr. I would like to remind people of the details of the case. A stray bullet from the shooters, Robert Morgan, Daniel Meads, and Aaron Llewellyn, were the shooters that fired their weapons. One of them fired a stray bullet into a neighbor's house that went through several walls and was eventually stopped by hitting a crock pot in the kitchen in the back of the house. So, but for the grace of God, if that person was home or was awake or was in a different room, they would have been killed by the police. I would like to remind everyone, I point out that the case of Breonna Taylor in Kentucky, none of the cops were charged for killing Breonna Taylor. However, the one cop who missed was charged. The cop who failed to execute Breonna Taylor was charged. He got punished for missing, for not placing a bullet in an innocent woman's head and killing her. He was punished. He was charged with wanton endangerment because a stray bullet went into a neighboring apartment. Well, that is not the case in Elizabeth City and Pasquotank County. The stray bullet that almost killed someone, sorry, don't know what you're talking about. The district attorney, Andrew Womble, has an office inside the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Department and is usually in there every single day, very chummy with the sheriff deputies who murdered Andrew Brown Jr. and the sheriff of Pasquotank County, Tommy Wooten. They are all buddies. And the county commission voted a month ago now, to give all of the sheriff deputies in the entire sheriff's department a, quote, cost of living increase. They got extra money for the assassination of Andrew Brown Jr. I would like to remind everyone that the shooting took place at 8:30 in the morning on a school day in a school zone. A school is located less than a block away from Andrew Brown's home where the shooting took place. And so these are details that the mainstream media has, for whatever reason, forgotten about, because the mainstream media does not care about protests. They do not care about police violence unless they can get a reactionary headline. Elizabeth City has showed that you can protest for 113 days in a row without breaking a single window, without throwing a single water bottle, without throwing a single brick, without hurting anyone or anything. And what have we gotten? Nothing. The sheriff's department has gotten a raise, and national media has begun to ignore the story. The last time national media even pretended to care was on day 100, now 2 weeks ago, and they came out and they ran a small story about it, and then they just went back in their daily business. The only local newspaper outlet, the Daily Advance, which is funded by an out-of-state billionaire newspaper mogul, has been printing story after story after story, calling the protesters rioters, declaring the protesters doing illegal activity, printing and releasing protesters' street addresses. And there is a political action committee that is funding this operation, known as the Pasquotank PAC. They also have a news outlet where they have been posting lies and libelous and slanderous material about several protest organizers, saying that they are responsible for burning down the streets of Elizabeth City, even though that has not happened. They are still printing lies. Protesters in Elizabeth City have been hit by cars on several occasions. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we had a hit and run a week ago where the chief of police saw it and did nothing and told us not to file a report. And when I asked him why he saw it and he did nothing, he responded to me by saying, "You can't tell me what I saw." Even though when the hit and run occurred, he was on the sidewalk and I looked at him and he looked at me and he saw the car speed off. So I just wanted to give everyone a recap of what's been going on here. And, you know, we're not going anywhere. So I'll be out here for another 114 days if I need to. I'll be out here till Christmas. I'll be out here till April 21st, 2022, if it needs to happen. And, so I just wanted to give a little bit more of a more detailed recap of what's going on in Elizabeth City, because again, no one else is doing it, so I feel an obligation. But yeah, so every Thursday, the senior citizens of Elizabeth City have been doing a sit-in in the lobby of the Pasquotank County Sheriff's Department, and I will be attending that sit-in today after the show, and I will be collecting some people's thoughts on what's going on, and so I'll report back on that tomorrow as well. But yeah, either way, yesterday was a solid demonstration, and I'm looking forward to the future.